All right, everybody. We are recording this segment here on a Monday morning. And if you are watching us on YouTube, I gotta say, you guys are blessed right now. We have a special guest that has joined us for this stream. So, of course, we got myself, we've got the coach of the podcast, and we've got Coach Junior of the podcast making his Green with Envy debut. We have the big man, James, is here with us. Here, James Moimanakis. How you doing today, man?
You got anything to say, buddy? James is pretty sick, so he's not going to daycare today for all the listeners out there. So I got him home with me. I had him down for a nap, and literally as we were about to start recording, he started crying. So I grabbed him. So you all get a special treat, and we're doing the Green with Envy all NBA draft. And I figured, what better way to start the day than have my little guy with me?
That's right. So we're recording this on a Monday morning. I'm going to be taking off for about a week or so here, going to Ireland. Shout out to our guy, Mark McDonough, and his wife, Chabelle, going to be at their wedding here. So Greg will be holding it down while I'm gone, but we wanted to get at least a little bit of content recorded before that. So we tried to think, what was something that we hadn't covered quite yet on the show? And as part of our preview, we really didn't get into the all NBA and just kind of what our thoughts were about who might make it. So I kind of like that we're doing it now. We're 2 weeks, just about 2 weeks into the season. We've got a nice little sample size that we can overreact to, that we can underreact to. We know some injuries that are out there. So we know that certain people are not going to hit 65 games. They might be too busy fighting reporters in the locker room. Various circumstances like that. Could be talking about anybody, right? Like, who knows? So now we have a little bit of idea. So I thought to make this interesting, rather than me and Greg just sitting here and going back and forth and coming up with the same names, what we're going to do is we're going to do a Green with Envy, the first ever Green with Envy all NBA draft. So here's how it's going to work. And Greg, I'm going to lay this all out here, and then I want you to confirm that what I'm saying at least makes sense as a concept. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But let's see if we can get some rules hammered down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to draft 10 players each. So one of us will decide who gets first pick. We'll go back and forth selecting players of who we think is going to make just the first two all NBA teams, and kind of settled on the first two all NBA teams. Third team gets a little bit weird. First two teams, usually a pretty good, marker at the end of the season. These guys were generally the 10 best guys in the league. You can have a few issues here and there, but usually it's a pretty good marker for it. So we're just going to do 10 guys each. We're going to go back and forth drafting them. But then what we're going to do is after we draft today, we're going to come back to this list halfway through the season. So about 41 games into the season, we're going to come back to it. And then we're going to have the opportunity to add and drop from our roster at that point, whether it's injuries, whether it's play, whatever's happened, whatever's changed, we'll have a chance to adjust our roster. And then the third time, with probably about 65 games or so into the season, we can change that if we need to. What we'll do is one more add drop session, and then we'll have to lock in from our roster who's first team, who's second team, and then we'll get 1 point for every player that we get correct. And we get an additional point if we predict them on the correct team, first or second team, and we'll see who wins. So I don't know, Greg. Anything I'm missing there that could be
it makes
a flaw in
enough
the system?
sense to me. It makes enough sense for me to do the activity.
That's kind of
We'll
all we
see if
need,
it
right?
works.
That's kind of all we need, right? Like I feel like there's a chance by the end of the season we're like, oh yeah, that was a pretty big flaw in the system. But we'll figure it out when we get there. So all right, I think this will be fun. I think the first couple of picks we're going to be pretty easy here that we'll flow back and forth from. Let me ask you this, Greg. Do you want first pick right now, or do you want the first pick in the add drop section later in the season?
I'll take the first pick in the add drop later in the season, just in case the injury landscape changes. But I feel pretty good. I was trying to decide like how I was going to approach this draft because I sort of understood what you were talking about, and as you laid it out, it crystallized a little bit more. And I think the hardest thing for me is like picking the people that obviously will definitely be there, but keeping in mind the people that I think have a kind of dark horse candidacy. And
Right.
yeah, so it should be kind of fun to see how this goes. I'm excited.
So I will say, when I first thought of this idea, I had it 100% with Paulo Banchero in mind. And I was like, this is a great example of a guy who's like, he could put, he was on a heater, just had 50 plus points, had another game with 25, 6-6 in the first half. And it was like, that's the guy that this game is kind of made for. And of course, now he's out for 2 months. So he's kind of eliminated from this game. But I still think the intrigue is there. So I'll get us started here, Greg. And with my first pick, I'm going to go with SGA. I just think it's a really safe pick. It's an easy pick. Thunder are awesome. I would be shocked unless, obviously if he gets hurt, things change. But if he stays healthy, the Thunder are going to be awesome. He's going to be awesome. He likely will end up on the first team. It's hard to imagine him not being a first team guy. I'm going with SGA for my first pick.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because when you think about, I don't know, like a typical first pick, like a Jokic or a Giannis, there's a world in which their teams just like kind of shit the bed. Giannis's team obviously is shitting the bed right now. So you
That's
never
why doing
know.
this 2 weeks in is so great. Who knows? Maybe that's really who they are, or maybe we're going to look back and be like, oh yeah, that was stupid that we bought into them being 1-5. Who cares?
Right. But there's a chance if their teams are bad that because of the team lack of success, they won't make a first team All NBA. Right. So I really
Mm-hmm.
like this choice going with the players that are on teams that will have sustained success. And continuing with that, I got to go homer pick. I got to go Jason Tatum. Tatum is off to a scorching hot start, just all over the place. The 3-point shots coming down a little bit, down to 34%, but I think that's more a product of him shooting a few too many off the dribble threes. I think once he kind of finds his rhythm again on the catch and shoot, he's going to be fine. And the Celtics, they're, unless 3 people get hurt on their team, they're going to be a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. So I think you're going to see Jason Tatum on the first team All NBA for the 4th year in a row. I think he's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, I think that was a good pick. I think I had Tatum third on my little power leaderboard that I have here. Power rankings is what the word I was looking for. Still working on that first cup of coffee this morning. But yeah, I think that's for all the reasons that you mentioned. Him and SGA are probably the 2 safest pick of individual and team success. So I'm going back to the well with what you said with one of the guys that you mentioned. I'm going Jokic. He's, the Nuggets, they're figuring it out. I think they're 500 as the time we're recording this, but Jokic is currently averaging basically 30, 12, and 10. So if they're even going to be a 3, 4, 5, 6 seed, whatever potentially they might end up with, he's going to continue to be awesome. And I think first team for him is another very likely scenario as long as the Nuggets, stay out of the play-in. I still can't imagine a world in which he's not a first team guy because he's still Jokic. The Nuggets don't really feel like the Nuggets, but he definitely still feels like Jokic.
Yeah, Jokic should be on that first team as long as he stays healthy. What's interesting is because it's a positionless exercise at this point,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was taking a look at my list, and the most positions I had, like just guards, forwards, bigs. I had the most guards listed as like that was the position where I feel like there's the most depth. I had bigs a couple more than forwards, but on the first team, I feel like it's going to be mostly guards and forwards, and that you're going to see one big man on there. It's probably going to be Jokic. Embiid probably isn't going to make a first team All NBA just with the season off to a rocky start, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he might not even play enough games. So Giannis is the other guy to consider there at the big man position, but with the way the Buck season is trending, I think that's a tough person to put on the first team, especially when you have somebody like Luka Doncic just sitting there waiting to be chosen. Luka is definitely going to be a first team. So, I mean, last year's first team, everybody that we've chosen right now was on that, right? It was
Right. We've
SGA,
basically run
Luka,
it back.
Tatum, Jokic. Who was the 5th last year?
What do we have? Tatum, SGA, Jokic,
Luka.
Luka, and who are we missing? Did we say Giannis?
We haven't chosen Giannis, but was he first team last year? I can't even
I
remember.
believe he was. Let me double check this here. Let's see. Yeah, it was Giannis, Tatum,
Okay.
Luka, Shea, and Embiid. That was 2023.
Oh, Embiid. Okay. Oh,
Let me
yeah.
make sure I'm getting this right here. Yeah, I think that's right. Let's see. Riveting content here. Yeah. We got that right. SGA, Jokic, Luka. Okay, not Embiid. Sorry. SGA, Jokic, Luka, Giannis, and Tatum.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Sounds
just
good.
Giannis, who we have not mentioned yet.
Yeah. So I'm going Luka with that pick. So feel pretty good about it. I think all these guys will definitely be on either a first or second team
Right.
by the end of the year.
Right. And honestly, I'm keeping it that same trend. I don't know with the start that Giannis had that, first team might not happen this year just because we'll see where the Bucks team success goes, but he's still putting up incredible stat lines, So I think with Giannis, there's still going to be this is a pretty safe bet that he's making one of these two teams. Whether or not I'm going to have to lock him into the first team, that's a decision for down the road that I'll have to make. But I think one of these two teams, if he stays healthy, seems very, very likely. So I think Giannis is the other obvious choice here. And now is where I think maybe there's one or two more guys that feel a little obvious. But other than that, I think we're starting to get to that point where some of these guys are going to be, I could see them first team, maybe second team, or maybe just third team or not making it, right? Like we're going to start getting to a lot of those guys where it gets tough. Like you mentioned, those guards where there's so many of them that they could be anywhere from second team to maybe not making all NBA at all, just because it's too many players.
And just to make sure that I fully understand the exercise, I now have 2 players on my team and you have 3 players on your team. So I
I'm keeping
have
track of it here. Yeah, I got us. I got us down right now. So right now, my team, for those listening, I've got SGA, Jokic, and Giannis. Greg has Tatum, Luka, and the ball is in your court.
I'm gonna go Donovan Mitchell. I know the Cavs are off to a 7-0 start to start the season. I think Donovan Mitchell is kind of one of those underappreciated guys in the NBA. When he's on, there's not really anybody that I would rather have the ball in their hands at the end of a game. He's dynamite at the end of games. And I think with Mitchell, as long as the Cavs stay in a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, I think this is a year he gets his due and he's in. I don't think he'll make a first team, but I think he'll make one of the first or second teams, right? So I think he'll definitely be a second team guy. So I think he's a pretty safe bet to put on my team. I was considering some other guys that probably will make a team, but then when you consider the depth of positions, with the guards that are out there, I'm sure you'll probably take Ant Edwards next here. But I think Mitchell, for me, because of the Cavs being the story that they are, I think he'll make one of the 2 teams this year.
How dare you presume to know me? How dare you, sir? But you're right. I am going to take Anthony Edwards here next. That is the next logical pick here. I like your pick of Donovan Mitchell, though, and that's why I think this timing here where we have these 2 weeks here, because my gut would be if the Cavs were, even if they're 4-2, right? I don't think I would maybe Donovan Mitchell because he is still really good. He still would have been drafted, I think, at this point, but I just don't think he would have been the number 6 pick in this draft. But because we're recording this as the Cavs are 7-0, now it's looking like, hey, maybe this is the year that Donovan Mitchell, who I don't believe has made a first team All NBA yet in his career, maybe this is the year where it's like, all right, he's been in that kind of Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum realm of like, is he top 5? Is he top 10? Is he top 50? No one really knows where to put Donovan Mitchell. He's been living in that Tatum Brown space of how good is this guy as your number 1, right? And so maybe this is the year that we kind of figured that out. Like you said, Anthony Edwards, he makes a lot of sense. He's the guy with all the hype going into the season. I think if we did this, earlier, before the season, he might have even been in the top 4. We'll see. But the guys we picked were pretty likely picked to be there anyways. But I think with Anthony Edwards, he's really upped his 3-point volume. He now leads the NBA in 3-point attempts per game, but he's still hitting 43% of them, right? I didn't really see that as
he's like 5
being,
for 12.
Yeah. He's 5.3 out of 12.3 per game, 43.2% right now as we're recording this. And, because Ant's so explosive driving, I haven't really thought too much as like, he should be the guy that's shooting the ball 13 times a game from 3 or, 12 plus. But if he's going to hit it at a 42% clip, let that thing fly, right? Especially where they need more spacing after the Karl-Anthony Towns trade, specifically if they're going to use a starting unit that has Randall and Gobert. Like, he kind of has to be the guy that is giving them extra spacing and extra opportunities. So we'll see if that 42% clip will hold up. That's a tough number at that volume to keep going. That's some Steph Curry level type stuff. But even if he keeps it in the ballpark of 37, 38, 39%, like that's still going to translate to a really, really good season for Anthony Edwards. And the Wolves are figuring it out, but I still can't imagine them being a bad team. So I still think that they're going to have they're gonna get some more chemistry, and I feel pretty solid about Anthony Edwards here.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great pick. I mean, I had Ant listed above Mitchell in my rankings. I just wanted to just be a little different for the pod and choose Donovan Mitchell there. But yeah, I think with Ant, not only does he have to be the floor spacer, it's just like a little bit more tough sledding without Towns there to space the court for Ant, right? So it's like there's a little bit less room. Why make things more difficult on yourself driving into the paint more when you can shoot an open three at a 42% clip? It just makes total sense. Okay. Next guy for me, it's tough because we already chose Giannis, right?
Yep, he's gone.
Okay. We already chose Giannis. The next guy I'm considering here, it's between KD and AD. And both of those guys have some injury concerns. Both of those guys on teams that could at any point kind of go downhill. I think I'm gonna go Anthony Davis here
Okay.
because I like what the Lakers are doing. Yeah, I'm gonna go AD. He's playing. I think he's leading the league in scoring, or he's close to it. I think he's over 30 points a game. Tell me if I'm right or wrong on that.
He is 31.8 right now. Yeah.
Yeah, leading the league in scoring. JJ Redick is clearly handing the keys over to him. Thinking about LeBron long term, they can't have him be the number one option for 82 games anymore. So giving the ball to AD, all the different positions that they're getting him the ball. They talked in the preseason about having him shoot more threes. He's not. He's still shooting like 1.5 threes per game. So I think they're doing all the right stuff for Anthony Davis. And then when you add that he's probably the best defender in the league when he's on, I think Anthony Davis right there is an easy pick for me. So with the bigs in the league, Jokic, AD, and Giannis, I think those are the three guys most likely to make an All-NBA first or second team this year. So I feel good about that.
Yeah, I think that's the right pick, because I think he, out of the guys that we've drafted after the first 5, has the most likely potential to end up on the first team if he stays healthy, because he's been that good this year, right?
Right. Yeah.
And he's leading the league in free throw attempts right now. He's getting to the line a ton. He's hitting over 72%, I think it looks like. So, that's definitely going to be a guy that's going to be in consideration. I like that pick. I think that's the right pick. You mentioned KD. I think him and LeBron are potential for this next slot here. But given age, given just the chance that, it's one injury and all of a sudden it's like, all right, we're going injury risk management here, rest of the season. We got to have these guys ready for the playoffs. So I'm not going to pick them here. And that leaves me really with 3 guys that I'm kind of debating between. I'm looking at KD's partner, Devin Booker. I'm looking at Jalen Brunson, and I'm looking at Jaylen Brown. Those are the 3 guys that I'm kind of considering in this spot, mostly just because LeBron and KD. I'm going to wait a little bit and see if I can get one of them later. Oh, this is a tough one here. I'm gonna go Jalen Brunson. I'm gonna take Brunson here. The Knicks, they're still trying to figure it out, but they end up the 2 seed in the East, right? If that eventually becomes their destiny, even a 3 seed, likely Jalen Brunson's gonna play a big part in that. I think I could make really good cases to go with Jaylen Brown or with Devin Booker, but because Brunson is without a doubt the main guy in New York, that's going to be my differentiator. So I'll go Jalen Brunson here with my 5th pick.
Yeah, Brunson, he's the big name in New York. Obviously, the other guy in New York that's just interesting to consider is Cat. His numbers are
It's on my
ridiculous
list.
this year. His numbers are ridiculous. He's shooting like 60% from 3-point range at this point in the year. So I think, although I'm not a Cat fan, he does seem to be working out a lot better in New York than I previously thought he might. I think they need to get him the ball just a little bit more. I think he's shooting like under 13 shots a game. So I think with Cat, he would be the other New York Knick to consider there. JB I've liked what I've seen out of JB. He definitely has had a little bit more tunnel vision than I think I would have preferred through 6 games. Obviously he missed the last game with the hip. His 3-point shot is just not there. He's shooting in the mid 20s right now from 3. I think he'll figure that out. Paolo probably would have been my guy to pick, but he's not gonna make the game limit. So, You didn't pick Durant yet?
I haven't picked Durant yet.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Durant then. So I end up with AD and KD. I think Durant, he's still a better player than Jalen. I think Jalen
Mm-hmm.
obviously is amazing. I'm the biggest Jalen Brown fan out there. I think KD's still a better player, and I think as long as he stays healthy, he's a safer bet, just in terms of um, individual performance than I think Jalen is. I think there's a world in which Jalen's percentages and the analytics don't love him enough, and he's already not loved enough by the analytic community, which is a prominent part of the machine in voting. So I'm going to go with KD here. So just to recap, let me just say I got Luka, Tatum, Durant, Mitchell, and AD.
And AD. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's my
So
first five. I like
yeah.
that.
So my first five is SGA, Jokic, Giannis, Ant-Man, and Brunson. Greg has Tatum, Luka, Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Davis, and Kevin Durant. So those are our first five that we each have. We got five to go here. I'm gonna just go with Jaylen Brown. We're talking about Jaylen Brown right now. I said at the during our preview, I think this is the year that Jaylen Brown gets that Finals MVP bump, right? Like where if he gets between him and somebody else, it's how we're not going to choose the champion, the Finals MVP, the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. And so you're right. I think there's a few things in JB's game, and we'll see this the hip flexor injury right now. As we're recording this, he's going for a second MRI. So we're recording this ahead of the Hawks and Celtics game that will have happened earlier in the week by the time you guys listen to this on the podcast. We'll see if we know more, but as of right now, doesn't seem like it's going to be something super serious. So JB is a guy that's always out there willing to play. He is, he's talked about really heavily wanting to be all defense. I don't know if that's going to happen, but he clearly does have an emphasis on that when he wants to lock in. He can make some highlight plays, which I think are going to translate to some of this voting here. And then, like I said, really big on the NBA on the NBA Finals MVP bump that I think he'll get here. So for him he's not going to make a first team, but for him getting on a second team, I do think that there's definitely a window of opportunity for that with Jaylen Brown. Who do you got for your
For
next pick?
sure. Yeah, and I'm going to go with Booker. I think with Booker,
That was my other choice here. I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think Jalen's probably more of a forward than Booker is. I think Booker is like as classic of a two guard as you can get. But those are some of the guys that I consider to be the best, quote unquote shooting guards in the league. I have Ant, Mitchell, SGA, Booker, and Jalen. Like those are my guys that I think are the top five people that you can consider at some point a shooting guard. So I'm going to go with Booker. I think the Suns are off to a good start. I think one of Durant or Booker will make a first or second team. So the fact that I have both of those guys, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good hedging your bets right there. That's probably the right pick with Devin Booker, given age, given style of play, and just like you said, having KD, you're setting yourself up. Somebody's making that first or second team at least out of the two of them. I'm gonna attempt doing something similar here. I'm gonna go with LeBron. I'm going LeBron here with my seventh pick. Same thing, kind of hedging my bets on JJ Redick, AD, LeBron. If the Lakers are successful, they're going to get multiple guys on all NBA teams.
Media
Now,
machine.
right. As long as as long as LeBron makes that 65 games, he's getting on an all NBA team. It just depends how much he's played, how dominant AD has been. Will he make second team? Will it be third team? I mean, obviously LeBron always has the opportunity to sneak into the first team just being LeBron, right? So, so I think LeBron here just gives multiple options. So kind of the same thought process you have with KD and Booker. I'm going with LeBron. Let's see here. Who you got next? This is where it's getting interesting now with the guys that are left.
I'm really factoring in team success and just like potential for guys to kind of take off. Because there are guys like Sabonis and Mobley and even like Chet, that have
He's
a
on my list.
chance
Yeah.
of making it, but are they likely to make a second team? I don't know about that. And I'm trying to factor in the media a little bit too here. I'm gonna go with Ja Morant.
Oh, damn. That was where my pick was going. You stole my pick. That's a good one there. I'm impressed with that one.
Yeah, I think with Ja, he's got the highlight plays. Memphis off to a decent start. I think they're one game above 500 right now through 7 games. And he has help on that team. Like Desmond Bane's good, Triple J is good. Marcus Smart remains to be seen if he's still got anything left in the tank. But if Memphis is going to be a playoff team or a top 6 team, it's going to be because of Ja Morant and the redemption story. Everybody loves a redemption story, especially in American society. And I think that Ja Morant is he's ready for it. And 2 years ago, I think you would have penciled in Ja Morant to make a first or second team All NBA for the next 5 or 6 years of his career, right? So he has a rough year with the social media stuff, the guns, and the injuries. And now he's back, and I think Ja. You know what I did the other day? Well, I went back and I read a whole bunch of, and as my young son takes a shit in my lap, like the articles on Ja, coming out of college, they're
Yeah.
just they're so great because you forget that Ja, although he's this athletic freak, he was looked at as a great leader at Murray State. And it wasn't just the scoring, like he was an assist machine. He averaged double digits assists in college, which is almost unheard
He's
of.
averaging 10 assists right now. He's 27 and 10 with 5 rebounds. Like that's a first team stat line.
Pretty good. Yeah. So I'm going to go Ja Morant there, and I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That's a great pick right there. I was thinking that he might slide to me here at the 8 spot because now, like you said, trying to predict wins, but also play into the media. So I'm leaning into the media with my next one. Give me Wemby. I'm going
Yeah.
Wemby here. See if he makes second team All NBA. It feels like a bit of a stretch right now that he would make second team, but all it takes with someone like Wemby, who we're all projecting as the next guy, the face of the league that's coming, this thing that we've never seen before. I mean, you saw it last year with his Rookie of the Year campaign, right? Like once he got going, there was no stopping him, and even to the point where the Spurs were so bad that he was getting talk for All NBA Defensive Player of the Year on a team that was one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in the entire league. The Spurs are better. They're right now. I mean, they're 500, right? There's a whole bunch of teams right now as we're recording this that are 500. Spurs are right there in that mix. They had a big win against the Wolves the other night. So the Spurs, if they can just hang around that play-in, and Wemby is going to be Wemby, I think there's going to be a lot of momentum for him. If he goes on, even just a little bit of a run that you can see
Yeah.
it,
He's got
even
to
if the
play better. He's got to play better than he's been playing.
Right. So this
Yeah.
is a bet. This is betting on his future that, based off last year where he started a little bit slow and then completely took off and separate, even from, you mentioned Chet Holmgren, who's playing better right now to start the season. Beginning of last year, it was like, oh, this is going to be a battle for Rookie of the Year. And then Wemby smoked him, even though Chet still had an awesome year. Maybe
Right.
one of the more underappreciated rookie years that we've seen in a while because of what
They'll
Wemby
both
did.
be on All NBA defensive teams.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So this is a bet that Wemby is going to be in that Defensive Player of the Year conversation, which if the Spurs are in that play-in or sniff the 7-8 seed of that play-in specifically, this is going to be a spot for him. So I'm going Wemby here. Greg, you have 3 more picks here. This is your 8th pick coming up right now.
I got to go with the chef, man. I'm going with Steph Curry. Still on the board. The great value pick for the what would that be? The 16th guy taken in the draft. I think
Yeah,
Steph Curry
it's deep.
as long as he gets healthy, right? He's out right now with that ankle injury. The Warriors are off to a good start. I think with Steph, he's Steph. He's still Steph at the end of the day. Same argument for LeBron. Like the media loves him. I think if he puts up 85% of his MVP self and the Warriors are top 6 seed, there's a good chance he ends up on a second team. So I'm going to go with Steph Curry there. Once again, feel very good about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just as we're recording this, we don't know exactly when he's coming back. Hopefully, in the game that you've recapped, he's playing against Boston. We don't know if he will be in that game or not. I think that's the one thing that left him on this list for so long. I mean, the Warriors are one of the surprise teams of the early season, right? 5-1, 6-1 right now, and doing it without Steph Curry, right? A lot of Buddy Hield getting the shots up right now. So it's going to be fun to see a rejuvenated kind of Warriors team when Steph comes back and see what that looks like. We got 4 picks left here, Greg. It's getting a little nitty gritty. So let's see who I'm going to go with here. And you already mentioned this guy, and I've got his running mate in New York. I'm going to go with Cat. Don't love this pick, but it will balance out because I really love Wemby. So I get to follow Wemby. Now I'm going to follow Cat a little bit more. But like you said, he, if you haven't watched him since that first night against the Celtics, he's been playing a lot better. And I think to your point, Greg, he needs the ball more. Like that's something that I think is kind of holding back the Knicks a little bit as they're trying to figure out everybody's role, what's their spacing. It feels definitively like Cat just needs more. He's getting 13, 14 shots a game, like you said. I don't know how that's not closer up to the 18 to 20 range. And from the 3-point line, he's just scorching hot. So I don't know how they figure out getting him more looks from three, but that feels like if the Knicks really want to open up their potential and ceiling, I do think it involves Cat getting more touches. And even though I have Jalen Brunson much higher because he is so beloved in New York, and I don't think Cat's ever going to reach that, statistically, Cat may end up with actually even a better season than what Brunson has. And so this is kind of a bet that I have, at least Brunson, who I think is going to have out just like last year, outside shot at first team NBA, solid second team potential. Cat's probably just in that second team potential, but this is, hey, the Knicks are taking off and Cat is clearly the catalyst for it. This is how he ends up on the second team.
All right. I like that pick. I'm going to go with Joel Embiid. If there's a chance that Joel Embiid hits the game minimum, if he's back soon, I think with my 9th pick, this is a pretty good guy that could end up on a first or second team as long as he gets healthy. So I like him over somebody having a career year like a Darius Garland or even his teammate Tyrese Maxey. I think there's a better chance that Embiid ends up there, even though he did just assault a reporter. This shit. Did you see the shit the reporter said about him though? Like, I get it. I get why Embiid would be so upset with that guy.
So my thing with it is that it was clearly like as a journalist that was just so poorly worded, right? Like I think I knew what he was trying to say, but the way it came off was like, dude, did you not have editors? Like, did somebody not read this and be like, how this reads, right? Because I think he was just trying to add in like he was trying to give context to what he was saying, but did it in a way that clearly you understand why Joel Embiid was frustrated. But it was one of those things where the response and I don't think there's been any video of what happened. It's just kind of anecdotal as to what happened. Probably not the right response given everything surrounding Embiid right now and just actually, what the point he was trying to make of him not being on the court being the case and that we have no idea as to what's going on. So yeah, that's a tough spot. That feels like a situation where there's no winners. That's kind of the way what I took away from that. Nobody's a winner in that situation. But Embiid bowl pick there. I mean, you're right. Guy definitely, if he somehow makes it to 65 games, that would be a guy that's easily a first team type of guy. But I think getting to 65 games is going to be a bit of a stretch for him here. But that's why we have the ad drop here coming up midway through the season. Okay, so I got my last pick here. I got two guys I'm going back and forth between. I'm not going to tell you who because I want to see who you come up with on your own here. If I don't go with the other one, I'll take Zion. Give me Zion. We'll see what happens here. This is a pick, as always with Zion. It's a pick on potential. There's nothing else to Zion really but potential. If he can stay healthy, the Pelicans, they're kind of a mess right now. No DeJounte, no CJ McCollum. They kind of don't have a guard play. I haven't watched a ton of the Pelicans right now, but I feel like if they got no guards, lean into point Zion and try to get this back on track. I know they got a couple other. I think Herb Jones is also injured a little bit. So they're banged up. They're going to need Zion to be. Remember how good Zion was in that play-in game last year before he got hurt, where he was just destroying the Lakers? If he doesn't get hurt, he was absolutely dominating that game. And AD and LeBron were locked in that game as well. And Zion was clearly the best player on the court. Goes out with 3-4 minutes left, and then the Lakers come back and win. You get that Zion, that's the first second team Zion that we've all been waiting for. And we'll see. Long season, very similar to Embiid. Highly doubtful he'll make it to 65 games, but that's why we're picking them here at the end of the round here, trying to get some good value. So you got one pick left, Greg. Who are you going to go with?
I'm just going to name a bunch of names that I have listed here. And then after I do that, I'll give you my pick. De'Aaron Fox, Kyrie Irving, Darius Garland, Trae Young, LaMelo Ball, Tyrese Maxey, Dame Lillard, James Harden, Tyrese Halliburton, Jimmy Butler, Paolo Banchero, RJ Barrett.
Dude, RJ Barrett's got some crazy stats. For those of you that aren't paying attention to what's going on in the North, RJ Barrett is going off right now. He's averaging, let's see, what is he averaging? 28.8 points per game. It's only a 4-game sample, but 28.8 points per game on 46% shooting from three. So RJ Barrett, you deserve a shout out. I'll give you that.
Open. Evan Mobley, Bam Adebayo, Jared Allen, and Domantas Sabonis. I'm going to go with Chet. I'm gonna go with Chet.
Okay. I love that you didn't name him, and that's who you go with. That's exactly who I was debating between before I went with Zion. It was Zion or Chet for me. And but I think Chet's the best
same
pick.
thing. Team success, anchor of the defense, and if he continues to progress on offense, SGA is sacrificing a little bit more this year. So I think there's a world in which Chet is the beneficiary of that. And, he might win Defensive Player of the Year over Wemby. So if he wins Defensive Player of the Year and he averages, I don't know, say 19 and 11 with 4 blocks, there's a good chance he ends up on a second team.
All right. That is our Green with Envy All NBA draft. Let's do a quick recap here. On Will's team, we have SGA, Nikola Jokic, Giannis, Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, Jaylen Brown, LeBron, Wemby, Cat, and Zion. Team Greg, we have Tatum, Luka, Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Ja Morant, Steph Curry, Joel Embiid, and Chet Holmgren. Gotta say, we got some stacked teams here. So, as a reminder for those of you listening, number one, show us a comment here. See who did better? Who won this round of this? Do you like Will's picks? Do you like Greg's picks? Let us know what you think, and we will revisit this midway through the season. Where at that time we will be able to drop and add players as injuries have happened, as more maybe Darius Garland goes off and we want to add him to our team. We'll be able to do that. So we'll check back in on this midway through. But Greg, this was fun. I'm glad we did this. I think this will be fun to have this. We'll have kind of a linchpin that we'll be able to look back to with all of our guys as we're having conversations throughout the year. So we will come back to our all NBA draft here, like I said, midway through, have an ad drop session, and hey, we'll see who wins. But that's going to do it for this episode here of Green with Envy. As always, we appreciate you guys for checking in and locking in with us. I'll be on vacation for the next week or so, so make sure that you guys stay locked in. Greg will have you covered with some more content here in the meantime. So with that, we're going to send you out with some Black Sheep Optimists, and we will catch you guys later. Peace.
Missed free throw, Ford for the rebound. Here's Pritchard. He loves these. Puts it up half court of the buzzer.
Every time we get this high, I lose my mind. It don't take much no more until I hit the floor. Every time I get this high, it's you I find. It don't take much no more until I'm at your door.
Coming to my core, baby. What can I say? You got me on the floor, you know I came to play. I know I shouldn't, but you seem to take my pain away. And every time I score, Jason Tatum fade away. I close my